From translation, NIV New International Version. This 83rd day of the year. Today we are reading passages, Judges 16 to 18. Judges chapter 16, verses 1 to 31. Samson went to Gaza, and there he saw a prostitute, and he went to her. The people of Gaza were told, "Samson has come here." So they surrounded the place and lay in wait for him all night at the city gate. They made quiet all night, saying, "At dawn we'll kill him." But Samson lay there only until the middle of the night. Then he got up and took hold of the city gate, together with its 2 doorposts and bolts, and tore them loose. He put them on his shoulders, and carried them to the top of the hill facing Hebron. Some time later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "Entice him, find out what makes his strength so great, and how we can overcome him so that we may tie him up and subdue him. Each of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver." So Delilah said to Samson, "Tell me the secret of your great strength, and how you can be tied up and subdued." Samson answered her, "If anyone ties me with 7 fresh bowstrings not yet dried, I'll become as weak as any other man." The rulers of the Philistines brought her 7 fresh bowstrings not yet dried, and she tied him with them. With men hidden in the room, she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." But he snapped the bowstrings as easily as a piece of string snaps when it comes near a flame. So the secret of his strength was not discovered. Then Delilah said to Samson, "You have made a fool of me. You lied to me. Come now, tell me how you can be tied up." He told her, "If anyone ties me securely with new ropes that have never been used, I'll become as weak as any other man." So Delilah took new ropes and tied him securely with them. Then, with men hidden in the room, she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." But he snapped the ropes off his arms as if they were threads. Delilah then said to Samson, "Until now you have been making a fool of me and lying to me. Tell me how you can be tied up." He replied, "If weaves the 7 braids of my head into the fabric on the loom and tightens it with the pin, I'll become as weak as any other man." So while he was sleeping, Delilah took the 7 braids of his head, wove them into the fabric on the loom and tightened them with the pin. Then she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He awoke from his sleep and pulled up the pin and the loom, with the fabric still attached to his head. With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. Finally, Samson told her everything. "No razor has ever been used on my head," he said, "because I have been a Nazirite dedicated to God since birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man." When Delilah saw that he had told her everything, she sent word to the rulers of the Philistines, "Come back once more. He has told me everything." So the rulers of the Philistines returned with the silver in their hands. After putting him to sleep on her lap, she called for someone to shave off the 7 braids of his head, and so began to subdue him, and his strength left him. Then she called, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He awoke from his sleep and thought, "I'll go out as before and shake myself free." But he did not know that the Lord had left him. Then the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza. Binding him with bronze shackles, they set him to grinding grain in the prison. But the hair of his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon their god and to celebrate, saying, "Our God has delivered our enemy Samson into our hands." When the people saw him, they praised their God, saying, "Our God has delivered into our hands our enemy, who laid waste our country and multiplied our slain." While they were in high spirits, they shouted, "Bring out Samson to entertain us." So they called Samson out of the prison, and he performed for them. Then they made him stand between the pillars. Samson said to the servant who held his hand, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple, so that I may lean against them." Now the temple was crowded with men and women. All the rulers of the Philistines were there, and on the roof were about 3,000 men and women watching Samson perform. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Then Samson reached toward the 2 central pillars on which the temple stood. Bracing himself against them, his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other, he pushed with all his might, and the temple collapsed on the rulers and all the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. Then his brothers and his father's whole household went down to get him. They brought him back and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol in the tomb of Manoah his father. He had led Israel for 20 years. Judges chapter 17, verses 1 to 18. Now a man named Micah from the hill country of Ephraim said to his mother, "You 1,100 shekels of silver that were taken from you, about which I heard you utter a curse, and I spoke the curse myself. I have that silver with me." "I took it," his mother replied, "my son, because I gave this silver to the Lord for my son to make an idol. I had to give it back to you." He then returned the 1,100 shekels of silver to his mother, And she said, I consecrate the silver to the Lord for my son to make an idol, and it will be returned to you. So he returned the silver to his mother, and she took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to a silversmith, who made them into an idol cast in the shape, and it was put in Micah's house. This man Micah had a shrine, and he made an ephod and some household gods, and installed one of his sons as his priest. In those days Israel had no king, everyone did as they saw fit. In those days the tribe of Dan was seeking a place of their own where they might settle, because they had not yet come into an inheritance among the tribes of Israel. So 5 men from Dan, representatives from their clans, set out from Zorah and Eshtaol to spy out the land and explore it. As they approached the hill country of Ephraim, near Micah's house, they recognized the voice of the young Levite. They turned aside there and went to Micah's house and asked him, Who is the man who brought you here? What are you doing in this place? Why are you here? He told them, This is how I came to have the priest. I had a young Levite from Bethlehem in Judah, and he has been with me for 3 years. I have paid him to be my priest. Then they said to him, Please inquire of God to find out if our journey will be successful. Go in peace, Micah said, and may the Lord give you what your mission requires. So the 5 men left and came to Laish, where they saw the people living there as peacefully and securely as the Sidonians, prosperous and yet isolated. They saw that there was no one to help the people. And they realized their distance from the Sidonians and had no relationship with anyone else. Then the 5 men returned to Zorah and Eshtaol, and their relatives asked them, What did you find? They answered, Come on, let's attack them. We have seen that the land is very good. Do you want to wait around until such a time as your children are taken in marriage and there is no land left for us? So they set out from there, and when they reached Laish, they attacked those living in it and burned it down. The 5 men and their clans came and took possession of the land and settled there. They named it Dan after their ancestor, but its name was originally Laish. They set up for themselves the idol Micah had made, and Jonathan son of Gershom, the son of Moses, and his sons were priests for the tribe of Dan until the time the land went into captivity. And they continued to use Micah's idols until the day of the captivity of the land. Judges chapter 18, verses 1 to 31. In those days Israel had no king. And in those days the tribe of Dan was seeking an inheritance for itself to settle in, because until then no inheritance among the tribes of Israel had fallen to them. So the Danites sent 5 of their leading men from Zorah and Eshtaol to spy out the land and explore it. As they approached the hill country of Ephraim, they came to Micah's house and stayed there. While they were near Micah's house, they recognized the voice of the young Levite. So they turned aside and asked him, Who brought you here? What are you doing in this place? Why are you here? He told them, Micah did what he did for me. He has hired me and I am his priest. Then they said to him, Please inquire of God to find out if our journey will be successful. The priest answered them, Go in peace. Your road where you are going has the Lord's approval. So the 5 men left and came to Laish, where they saw the people living there as peacefully and securely as the Sidonians, prosperous and yet isolated. They saw that there was no one to help the people. And they realized their distance from the Sidonians and had no relationship with anyone else. When they returned to Zorah and Eshtaol, their relatives asked them, What did you find? They answered, Come on, let's attack them. We have seen that the land is very good. Do you want to wait around until such a time as your children are taken in marriage and there is no land left for us? When you get there, you will find an unsuspecting people and a spacious land that God has put into your hands, a land that lacks nothing whatever. Then 600 men of Dan, armed with weapons of war, set out from Zorah and Eshtaol and went up and camped at Kiriath-Jearim in Judah. That is why the place west of Kiriath-Jearim is called Mahine Dan to this day. From there they went on to the hill country of Ephraim and came to Micah's house. Then the 5 men who had spied out the land of Laish said to their companions, Do you know that there are an ephod and household gods in these people's houses? Now what do you think we should do? So they turned aside there and went to Micah's house, and the 600 men armed with their weapons of war stood at the entrance to the gate. The 5 men who had spied out the land went inside and took the carved image, the ephod, the household gods and the cast idol. Meanwhile, the priest stood by the entrance of the gate with the 600 men armed with weapons of war. When the 5 men went into Micah's house and took the carved image, the ephod, the household gods and the cast idol, the priest said to the men who were at the entrance to his house, What are you doing? They answered him, Be quiet. Don't say a word. Come with us and be our father and priest. Is it better for you to be a priest for the household of one man or to be a priest for a tribe and clan in Israel? The priest was pleased. He took the ephod, the household gods and the carved image and went with the people. Putting their little children, their livestock and their other possessions in front of them, they turned away and left. When they had gone some distance from Micah's house, the men who lived near Micah were assembled and overtook the Danites. They called out to the Danites, who turned around and said to Micah, What's the matter with you that you've called out your men to fight? He replied, "You have taken the gods I made and my priest as well. What else do I have? How can you ask, what's the matter with you?" The Danites answered him, "Don't argue with us, or some hot-tempered men will attack you, and your family will lose your lives." Then the Danites went on their way. When Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back home. So the Danites took what Micah had made, and the priest who had belonged to him, and went on to Laish against a peaceful and unsuspecting people. They attacked it with the sword and burned it down. There was no one to rescue them because they lived a long way from Sidon and had no relationship with anyone else. The city was in a valley near Beit Rehob. The Danites rebuilt the city and settled there. They named it Dan after their ancestor, son of Israel, but its name was originally Laish. There they set up for themselves the idols Micah had made, and Jonathan son of Gershom, the son of Moses, and his sons were priests for the tribe of Dan until the time of the captivity of the land. The people of Dan continued to worship the idols Micah had made all the time the house of God was in Shiloh. They set up for themselves Micah's idols, which he had made, all the time the house of God was in Shiloh.